Hello, ethnically correctors. I hope you had a great day. We are gathered here for episode 4 of Ethnically Correct. Can we get a hello?
Woo! Hello, hello, hello.
So we're joined again by Winter White. How are you, Winter?
I'm doing great, thank you.
Excellent. And the wonderful Tehu Smythe.
Greetings.
It's so amazing that we are at the end of 2015. We've just been through one important holiday, which is Thanksgiving here in the United States. And it's a very uniquely American tradition. Canada has its Thanksgiving holiday, but ours is definitely steeped in tradition. The Pilgrims who came to America and settled here in their interactions with Native American folks decided that it would be a good opportunity to look back on the harvest, on the year, and give thanks. And so we've adopted this holiday, and it's been part of our tradition as people that were born and raised in the United States, or those who might have come a little bit later and have adopted that tradition, because one thing is absolutely abundantly clear on that day, and that is that we all love to eat. We all love to eat plentifully. All right, so let's talk about the meal itself. And Winter, I've been to your home during Thanksgiving, and it's quite the occasion. So talk about what your great mother, Miss, can we say her name?
Yeah, of course.
Miss Debbie White.
Yes.
What she does for everybody that calls her mama.
You know, my mom is an amazing cook. She shows her love through the meals that she makes for people. And in fact, she told me, you know, when I am dead and gone, I want you to have at my funeral people stand up and I want you to say, who here has had Debbie White's cooking? And she said, when everybody stands up, then let them know, then you know she loved you. And that's how she shows her love, you know?
Right.
And our house for Thanksgiving, you know, we welcome everyone in. It is not just about the immediate family. It's about, you know, families, friends, people we work with. It's really the time of year to bring everyone together, enjoy a meal, and be thankful for just having, you know, each other in our lives. And my mom does that through her cooking.
How amazing.
It really is. And one of the most salient things about the household is just the fact that everyone feels comfortable coming there, even if in their own lives they might be going through a crisis or they might have just broken up with their significant other. Like, your home is where people find solace, and the good meal just makes them feel that they have an opportunity to rest and lay their head and be jolly.
Oh, yeah. And it's all through the meal that I feel that that's shown, you know. I remember growing up, my mom, you know, always had get-togethers, always had parties, and she was always in the kitchen. And for me, you know, that was just a way of entertaining. That's just what you did when people came over. You offered them something to eat. That goes hand in hand, you know. And it's a beautiful thing.
It really is. And Tehu, as someone who had left the United States and lived abroad for so many years, you've recently rekindled the Thanksgiving experience.
I have. It was actually my second year experiencing Thanksgiving in the U.S., and I always remembered Thanksgiving as such a fun and joyous occasion. I actually missed it when I was away. Thanksgiving obviously is not celebrated elsewhere. I'm definitely not in the UK, but I remember every time the year would roll around in that particular time of year, I'd think, oh, you know, the Thanksgiving, the turkey, the friends, the laughter, how nice. And occasionally you might find in it some people who celebrate it abroad, but it is very much an American tradition. But this year and the year before, I've been lucky enough to actually experience Thanksgiving in the U.S. again after a long 10-year absence, and I've really enjoyed it. I'd forgotten how fun it could be to kind of be with others, enjoying their company, and also as a guest. I've always been a guest at Thanksgiving. My family hasn't been in the U.S. during the Thanksgiving holidays, and it's it's so interesting, especially when you share Thanksgiving with many different families, the traditions that they have, the way they prepare the meals, the way the table is set. Everyone has a particular way and style of doing it. And I've always enjoyed experiencing the diversity of Thanksgiving with different families.
So for me this year, it was a very challenging moment. I would say this is the first Thanksgiving without my father. My father passed away in April, and so I flew back from New York that day to be with my aunts. And my idea originally was to just take them to a nice restaurant, but then a good friend of mine said, "No, don't do that. You need the comfort of home, a good hearth." And so she opened the doors, and she and her mom cooked a turkey that apparently was given to them at the last minute by a good neighbor. So they decided to cook, and I had a great time. And that was coupled with the fact that I met somebody in New York that is an outstanding man, and I decided to fly him out here that day and introduced him to my family and said, this is a good person who was going to be without the comfort of family. And so I decided that I was going to have a parallel experience if I didn't bring him along. And it really was quite fascinating and amazing to bring someone new into the mix. And he took charge at the dinner table. He cut the turkey and prepared the salad and sliced the bread and served everybody wine. So, of course, he was the star of the show.
What a good man.
Yeah. I know.
I love any man who can carve a good turkey.
I know those, and his hands are definitely masterful. And so I definitely feel that this year I had a unique experience. There was the very sorrowful loss, and at the same time there was the glory of having somebody that was absolutely wonderful to be around, and really made the meal all that more special for us and for them, because we did not stop laughing the whole night, because this woman's mother is just the most comical individual. And it's great to see traditions from the Salvadoran and Mexican cultures imbued in the traditional American fare. So, of course, there were green beans and there were mashed potatoes, but then there was also a particularly Hispanic dish that everybody shared, and it really made the meal all that much more special. So this also leads us to the next idea. Go ahead.
Before we go, though, I have a question to ask you guys. So, you have your main dishes, you have your turkey, and you have main dishes are maybe different upon cultures. But my question to you is, do you call stuffing, or dressing?
I've always called it stuffing because my mother every single year stuffed the turkey with that little bread concoction.
Okay.
And she made a very unique recipe that included yellow peppers and raisins and carrots and a bunch of other things that made the stuffing the most amazing thing I've ever had. I've tasted other stuffing and it does not compare.
Okay.
Because it takes up all the juices from the parsley and the red wine, and it really just elevates it to a different level. So for me, it's always been stuffing.
I didn't know it could be called anything else besides stuffing.
Dressing. I've
Yes.
I've never heard a Black person call it stuffing.
Wow.
It's always dressing.
Isn't that fascinating?
Yeah. And, I know the preparation is different, whereas some people put it inside the turkey. Black people, well, my people specifically, it is a cornbread base, and it has celery and no peppers, no like some people put sausage and all. It's like celery, some spices, some other things. I'm not a cook, so forgive me if I'm missing anything. But we always
You sound so
dressing.
uncomfortable discussing
I'm so
this.
uncomfortable talking about it. So I'm like, I know it's some other stuff, but I don't know what it is. And we bake it, and it is called dressing. And I've always wondered growing up, like, what's the difference other than the fact that you put it in a turkey and you don't like.
See, I always thought that if it's stuffing, it means that it was inside the cavity of the bird, and it soaked up all the juices from the animal in its dead state.
Thanks for the reminder.
And that dressing was its standalone dish that you prepared. So, for example, I was in New York and I was at a church, and the church cook was preparing dressing for 200 people. And so he had a humongous pot where he had the croutons, the celery, the onions, and the carrots, and then the stock. And that was it. And copious amounts of butter. Good Lord.
Wow.
This butter could lubricate the entire kitchen. It was that plentiful. And so that to me was the quintessential dressing, right? And stuffing is something that you put inside the bird. So for those of you out there in our amazing blogosphere, stratosphere, and cyberspace, please share with us your family recipes. We'd love to know, and once and for all settle whether this is stuffing or dressing and your traditions. But let's go to the more interesting aspects of Thanksgiving, and that is the camaraderie or lack thereof in the meal. So as I said earlier, for me this year, I brought somebody special to the table, but it was not known to everybody there that he was special. And I don't think I had the courage this year to plainly say why he was there. But at the same time, I know that in other families, this is an opportunity for people to make revelations and for people to either resolve conflict or simply avoid it. So I'd like to hear what you have to contribute in that respect.
I think the holiday periods in general can be a little bit difficult if you are struggling with separation, and it can also act as a memory of
Correct.
of good times, and you can have nostalgia for the good times, but then kind of be haunted by bad or negative experiences that you had.
Am I wrong? The word is Thanksgiving.
Right.
Which means that we need to be grateful and we need to give thanks for those things that come our way. And I think it's important for us to acknowledge that life is not just going to throw lollipops at you, right?
Correct.
Right.
It's going to throw really difficult circumstances, situations.
And it's precisely that kind of spirit. It's holding on to the good times and the memories which serve as a buffer when the difficult times and the challenging times come up. So it's important to have those moments and to really cherish them.
Yeah.
And I think that for me, for my family, it's a time to kind of let go, even for just one day of all that. And it's an excuse to be okay with no matter where the issues were the year previous, just to say, you know what, for this one day, we're going to be okay. You know what, if there's a divorce, and this has happened many times, an uncle and a wife aren't together anymore, but the wife was really close to our family. So she comes over and has the kids with her, and you know what, uncle, you better sit down and shut up and take it, because this is about family today. And it's okay for that one day. At least in my life, it's okay.
Yeah, which is really speaks to the theme of Thanksgiving as a healer, because it really gives an opportunity for people to say, no matter what tribulation we've gone through, no matter how many vendettas we've had with one another because of very silly things that sometimes are grounded in materialism, we come to the table as one, and we share, break bread, and we really focus on the most important aspects of the human experience, which is the idea of love sharing and edifying each other, because in the end, it reminds us that we all need to eat, that we all need to live, that we all need to subsist, and then that gratitude is really food for our soul. I think when we're grateful, we are at our highest level of peace.
It's the essence of being human.
Yeah.
It's what makes us different from the other species.
And one thing that gives us a lot of peace and a lot of joy and a lot of laughter, I don't know if you guys have seen this, but there is this amazing man who went viral because he had the creative talent and the amazing idea to talk about the Patti LaBelle sweet potato pie, and you have to say pie. You can't say pie.
Pie.
You have to say pie because this man elevated that pie to the highest echelons of social media, etc. This man really did Patti LaBelle the best service I think he's done. And we're going to put a link to the video. So we invite you to, if you have not seen it, if you've been under a rock like two of my friends here and have not seen this video, we invite you to go to our Twitter page, which is at Ethnic Correct, and our Facebook at Ethnically Correct, so you can really share what we've just witnessed together as a group. And Winter, you were one of the pioneers in discovering this video. So can you tell us about that and about what Black Twitter is?
So, I want to say Black Twitter actually elevated this man, because I had multiple friends sending me text messages like, look at this video, it is hilarious. And if you don't know what Black Twitter is, pretty much Black Twitter is a group of Black people who hashtag the words Black Twitter, and they talk about Black topics. They talk about situations that are specific to Black people, funny to Black people. And this year there were so many topics on Thanksgiving and how Black people would be spending Thanksgiving on Twitter, and everything was hashtag Black Twitter. Everything resonated with me. I was laughing out loud at work at all these memes, and my white coworkers were looking at me like, what are you laughing at? And I was reading the memes off to them, and they just could not see the humor in it. So one of the memes is of this kid, and his face is scrunched up, and kind of like disgust, and the meme says on it, when your uncle tells you his white girlfriend made the potato salad. And I read that meme. I read that meme to my coworkers, and they were like, why is that funny? Is that a thing? Is that what Black people think? Yeah. Is that what Black people think, that we have bad potato salad? I'm like, yes, that's funny. You guys don't make good potato salad. And they didn't know that that was a thing. And I thought that, that is very specific to Black culture. Like, and just like how we may, in white people's homes, maybe we're too loud, or maybe isn't that Black girl at work always laughing out extra loud? And that's maybe a joke, nope.
Today we had a whole discussion about what Black people like. So somebody told me, we can't get chocolate cake for this Black person's party because Black people won't eat chocolate cake. I said, what?
What?
She's like, no, apparently her sister worked at
what rubbish
Knott's Berry Farm, and that by far, whenever there were corporate picnics, if it was mainly Black personnel, they knew not to serve chocolate cake. It was always a white cake. And
there's ethnically correct cake.
Ethnically correct cake. That is a hashtag, y'all.
Yes.
There's ethnically correct cake, and it had to be a lot of orange soda.
That's outrageous.
I can't. You know what? We don't like orange. We like grape. Thank you.
Okay,
Get it
so
right.
This is what's so
grape soda and white cake.
Right.
Wow. Where's the party?
So, but literally, there was this whole topic, and so I said to her, "I'm getting carrot cake." So we have two Black coworkers, and I checked with them. I'm like, you all like carrot cake, right? And they said, absolutely. Who doesn't love nuts and raisins and carrot?
That's a universal cake right there. Carrot cake.
Carrot cake, exactly.
Oh,
so I couldn't believe that we had this whole conversation, and it goes back to the very specific things that must be part of a dinner table if you're a Black household, right? So you have to have mac and cheese and the collard greens. There's like this really southern.
Oh yeah, and no Velveeta. We don't do our mac and cheese with Velveeta. It has to be fresh.
Thank goodness.
It has to be multiple types of cheeses. If you do Velveeta,
yes,
that's what we're gonna tell you.
Yes, exactly. it's overwhelming disapproval. Right. So. Obviously, we are in the middle right now between Thanksgiving and Christmas. And Christmas is another world unto itself. And what I was telling both Tehu and Winter in our preceding conversation was that if Thanksgiving is characterized by one thing, it's that central meal and the chief cook and, the home that sort of hosts everyone. Christmas, on the other hand, centers a lot more on gift giving. And, in corporations, you have a white elephant or you have Secret Santa. And homes, you have either a white elephant or people just gift each other sometimes gifts for the children because they're the ones that are looking for it the most or the ones that are expecting something from Santa. But Christmas also is an acute reminder of other less desirable aspects of the human experience, such as loneliness, right? So if you've just separated from someone, if you've lost relatives like I have, it really highlights the idea that you no longer have something that you had before. So when you think of gifts and you think of things that are coming into your life, and coincidentally, you're also thinking about the things that have left your life unexpectedly or with a lot of mourning. So, whoever wants to chime in about their particular experience at Christmas time.
I have to say that Christmas is my favorite time of year. And, I think it's because of my family, because I have them to spend it with. I can remember very, very specifically. Yes, Christmas is about gifts, but my mom made miracles every Christmas. And I remember one Christmas, I thought it was the best Christmas ever growing up. My mom wrapped up Pop-Tarts, made them gifts. She gave me all these treats. I mean, it was nothing really expensive, but I remember it very distinctly because I thought, wow, my mom really knows what I love. And she packed those things up and she gave them to me. And years later, I would talk about that Christmas, and my mom said to me, that was like the brokest Christmas I've ever had.
Oh, wow.
And
Wow.
yeah, she was like, I had no money that Christmas, and that's why I wrapped up Pop-Tarts.
But what an extraordinary effort. And that
Right.
doesn't that embrace the spirit of
The
Christmas,
spirit,
really?
yeah. Yeah. And from then on, I started to think of the gifts that I give in a way that's very different than just the material, but what can is this going to make someone happy? Is this personal to something that they really like? So for me, Christmas has that meaning because of how my mother really went all out, in my personal opinion, to give me what I really loved, to pay attention to what I really liked, not necessarily the new bike every year or the whatever technology was out, but specifically, I know my daughter loves this, this, and that, and I'm going to give it to her.
And Winter, can I add that, your experience of Christmas, that is so privileged that you've had such a wonderful experience of Christmas and that you had family that was so attentive to your needs and that you wanted to respond to that. I hate to put a damper on the holiday spirit. But I do need to bring this up. Christmas, for a lot of people out there, is an incredibly challenging and difficult time for a couple of reasons. The financial pressure that people feel during Christmas, if they don't have the means to provide, or they're struggling with their personal issues, or they just find themselves in unfavorable circumstances, is honestly, it's second to none. It is so difficult for people to process that. So, as a marriage and family therapist in training, one of the things that we're encouraged to do when we're working with people is to really talk about the challenges that they may face during the holiday period. And something that comes up a lot, especially outside of the financial stress, is this idea that the relations with family members are not always peachy. Actually, they can be very strained, and the holidays forces interactions with family members that people are dreading seeing, and they only see during the holiday period. And there is this huge level of anxiety, which is heightened, and stress of, I'm going to have to endure 24 hours or 40 hours, however long it is, and tolerate a family member's company, which I actually can't stand. And this happens every year, and it's this routine, and there's a routine of Christmas which is going to go down and take place, and I'm just dreading it. I think that is a reality for a lot of people during the holiday periods. People don't talk about it. They do talk about it privately. And the stress that it causes before, and
Right.
the aftermath and the residual that it leaves for people really takes a while for people to shake off. And the fact of the matter is, not everyone loves their family members. They don't come from great places. Actually, also, a lot of times people aren't very friendly with their in-laws. They don't want to see them. They don't want to
Absolutely.
spend time with them. So the holiday periods is a huge, area of stress for them. And they know there's a routine that's established. It's going to take place. and it may not be the best routine that they like. They know like some uncle is going to get drunk and do something silly, for example. And it really isn't always peachy, and it causes a lot of problems.
Well, to that I say, what I think in my experience as a Black woman is that all families, have that. There is that dynamic where you don't get along with everybody. However, specifically in my culture, I think that there is that, but we don't hold back. So there's this uncomfort. There's this, oh, you're walking on eggshells in other cultures and you want to be polite and you want to not, make a scene, but we don't care a lot of the times. There'll be a fight and it's a fight and then you get over it and you move on. It's almost like the holidays are a time where you let bygones be bygones. You get over it. You may fight and nobody's walking on eggshells and you don't care if there's an uncomfort and we may be shooting eyes at each other from across the room and that's just the way that it is. So in Black cultures, that's the difference.
And I've witnessed some of that in your presence. And
Yeah.
It's just fascinating to me that people have the chutzpah and the aplomb to just bring things to the table
Yeah.
to say, I saw you looking at my man.
Yeah.
Or I saw you doing this and I'm not okay with it. So let's just talk it out.
Yeah, or last year, girl, when you looked at me and you said blah blah blah, and we talk it out. We put it on the table.
Would it be too presumptuous to say though that Black people are okay with confrontation for the most part?
I think for the most part, honestly, I
That's very cultural,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
a great asset of Black culture, that they can be very confrontational, because they have to be, and they have gotten used
Yeah.
to being so, and it's absolutely okay to be so. There are other cultures and other sort of also mainstream cultures that are not comfortable confronting whatsoever.
Right.
Actually, I have personally endured being in the room where there are individuals who absolutely will not address the great big white elephant in the room, and it is maddening.
yeah.
I really struggle with it. I mean, there is a white elephant in the room. Let's talk about
talk
it. Let's
about
bring it to the table. And people don't. They don't want to. Let's just avoid it. Let's pretend it doesn't exist.
And it's so funny that we have these white elephant practices, right? Where you don't know what gift you're going to get.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
then there's
Secret
the big-
Santa.
I love that.
There's the big white elephant in the room where there is a conversation that hasn't been had. I can imagine that gay teen that everybody knows is gay, but nobody says.
Right.
So this kid that's with you right now, he's your good friend, or is he something else? And a lot of times these are opportunities where people gain the strength and conviction to tell people, this is my situation, and you all either embrace it or you cast me out.
Right.
And people are ready and willing to take that step, because it's also right before New Year's, right? So we're making all these resolutions. So this is our last opportunity to say, okay, I'm going to make a statement. I'm going to make an announcement. I'm going to have the opportunity to clear the air with whomever I may have an issue with. And I'm going to start the new year on a clean slate. And it really is buoyant in the sense that as we reach milestones in our lives, we do have to examine ourselves to ask, what have we done well? What have we done, to
Self-reflection.
disappoint? Yeah, to disappoint others or ourselves, and then move forward. Because if anything, Thanksgiving, Christmas are opportunities for you to examine the self, because
Examine yourself, yeah.
gratitude impels you to examine what you've gotten or not gotten.
Yeah.
And then Christmas is also in gifting. Sometimes we need to gift ourselves, and that I find that Christmas is a good opportunity for me to catch up with people that I've maybe forgotten or have overlooked over the year, and this is my time to make well with them and tell them that I love them and miss them. And I love that about this time of year.
And can I just add to that, Alex, that
You may.
No, I thank you. I just wanted to add that process of examining the self, I think people avoid it because it's uncomfortable. I've got news for you folks. It's supposed to be uncomfortable. Examining the self is always going to be uncomfortable, because that's where growth comes from. Until you examine yourself and understand and really take a plunge into introspection, you're not going to be able to grow as as a person. And human beings generally grow reluctantly and with great difficulty. So we are stubborn. We are set in our behaviors and in our patterns, and it's easier not to, focus on yourself.
Yeah.
Well, I think that this is an opportunity for you to focus on yourself as a listener and really do that introspection and question whether what you do during this holiday season is informed by family practice, by your tradition, your culture, or whether you struggle in finding a balance between the jolliness of the holiday spirit and the hallmark way of doing things, or whether you prefer to eschew the real and the challenging. And talk to us about it. Go to Facebook, Ethnically Correct, or on Twitter, Ethnic Correct. We want to inspire a conversation that is universal and that really provokes people to examine and challenge notions that may be, very much a part of who they are, or maybe a vestige of who they think they are. So talk to us. We want to hear from you. We send out a big shout out to our friends in Europe, a big shout out to our friends across the United States and Latin America. We love you, and we hope you continue this conversation with us. For Winter White and Tehu Smythe, I'm Alex Venegas. Bye.